Hello, winners, and welcome to Two for the Win with your hosts, Nick and Will, where we share international insights, perspectives, and a little levity on things such as leadership and mindset for Monday Mindset, travel in the travel business on Wanderlust Wednesday, and sports on Fanatic Friday. Please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow on your favorite platform, and know that each episode is about 20 to 30 minutes in length, so you can plan accordingly. And we want to thank Nick Menard and Associates with Dream Vacations for sponsoring today's episode. We have an exciting episode today for this Wanderlust Wednesday, and I'm going to pass it over to my friend and co-host, Nick Menard, to introduce Gil. Take it away, Nick.
Thank you so much, Will. Hello, winners. Very, very excited today because we have a very, very special guest. So let me tell you a little bit about him. So he's currently CEO of Great Safaris. He was born in South Africa, and his passion for wildlife and safari started at age 4 when he went on his first safari to Kruger National Park. With a master's degree in wildlife management and several tourism accreditations, he started his career as a GM of a private game reserve in Greater Kruger with luxury lodging. He was a repeat guest lecturer at the Southern African Wildlife College and volunteered as a honorary ranger for sand parks. He made Mozambique his home for more than a decade, serving as the managing director of a conservation area with a focus of game reserve management, community development, and luxury tourism. Before moving permanently to the US in 2019, he and his wife traveled Africa extensively for 12 months. He joined Great Safari as the business development manager in 2019 and became the CEO of Great Safaris in 2023. His in-depth knowledge of Africa and his spectacular wildlife, combined with a robust luxury tourism background, is of great value in growing Great Safaris as a luxury tour operator specializing in Africa. So it's my pleasure to introduce to all of you Mr. Guillaume Van Wyk. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate that. And as you said, having a strong background in wildlife and luxury tourism for the past, give or take 20 plus years, really suits well for the market we specialize in, because Great Safaris is a boutique, luxury customized product that we give to our clients. And it goes more than just, hey, we're going to book a trip and, stay in a fancy lodge. We all can do that. Go online, book your hotel, move on. But I think it's more matching it all up, really understand, the wildlife aspect, because safari is about the wildlife.
Absolutely. Now, we're very excited to have you. I'm super excited. Safari is always something that I find fascinating. So I'm very, very excited to talk more about the opportunity to learn about Great Safaris and your experience, and let our audience know about what's there to experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, but I always tell people the key takeaway is Africa is a continent. Never approach it as, I'm going to go to Africa. It's that one trip of a lifetime. There are going to be several. So I think if you just always keep an open mind from that perspective, you will soon realize there's minimum 3 regions you're going to visit off the bat. We've seen that. So that's 3 trips in itself. And then from there, you excel into a repeat client going back to a region. And then it tunes into what are your interests. So yes, we're going to have lovely chats today. But just remember, there's a lot to say.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember, I had the pleasure of first meeting you at the Dream Vacations conference just a few months ago, and how you brought to life the experience. And, it's something, as an American, you hear Africa Safari and it seems really exotic, and it is, and all that, but you brought it to life in such a way where I was like, I could really see myself doing that and having a fascinating time and not worried about getting eaten by lions or tigers. So that was good. I appreciate that.
Of course, you're welcome. And, it's funny, just before this wonderful podcast, I had a call. The client is 94.
Wow.
94. And he said, am I too old to go on safari? That was the question. And I said, you're absolutely not too old. We have clients in wheelchairs. We've got clients with CPAP machines. Doesn't matter how old, how young, you can still do a safari. I mean, the youngest we took were a 3-year-old, and we took 87 years old. So add a few years, 94 is not going to make a difference. Because it's private, we cater for their needs. So this is an elderly group, and obviously you're going to cater for the needs. And as you say, you need to bring that to them, because they're not going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Yes, if you really want, you can, but I don't think so. But the point is, they're still going to have a super private luxury safari, and they're going to come back with those memories, because that's what Africa all about. It's about making memories. It's not a bucket list. Most people say, oh, Africa's a bucket list, I need to check it off. Yeah, these other places you check the box. Africa, you're going to meet people. You're going to meet wildlife. You're going to be in nature. You're going to build memories, and you're going to bring back memories. And that memories is going to take you back to Africa.
I love that. It's all about the experience, not only the destination. People forget about destination. They don't forget about the experience of how they felt while being there. I have a question. I'm intrigued by that. So as you know, I'm from Europe myself, and I knew a lot of people going to safari back in the days. But there are so many, you mentioned that, so many different regions. So can you explain to our audience a little bit the type of safari that can be done maybe by region and what to expect in each region?
Yeah, I would say you're breaking down into two big ones, Southern Africa and East Africa. Those are your two wildlife experiences. So let's start with East Africa. Here are your key takeaways. People are going to talk about Serengeti, Masai Mara, Great Migration, gorillas, Mount Kilimanjaro. That's sort of your keywords. And the moment you heard about it, saw it, or even think about it, that's where you want to go. And in that region, I mean, we can keep you busy for months, but realistically speaking, I would say a minimum of 2 weeks. And then you're going to tip your toe in Kenya and Tanzania, because they are beautiful parks. I mean, just think about the Serengeti and how you can elevate that, to Ngorongoro crater. You sleep on the rim of this crater, you overlook the crater floor, and then you go down for a full day safari, and you're surrounded by 25,000 animals, including the big five. So that's just amazing. You drive into the middle of this crater, you pop your head out, and you look around, you're 360. And you just see animals. I mean, that is just give you goosebumps to think about it. And then you go to gorilla tracking, staying in East Africa for a moment. To walk with those silverbacks are just phenomenal. I've done it, and I will do it in a heartbeat again. So I always say East Africa is like a grand stage. You don't talk about hundreds or thousands of animals. You start to talk millions, because that's really what it is. The Great Migration is average 1.5 million animals on the move constantly. And it's a bit of a myth. People say, when is the Great Migration, right? Just think about it. 1.5 million animals. They jump through the river. What are they going to do? They're not going to catch a plane and come back next year. They're still there. So it's just they're going to go north, they're going to go south. So in the north, they jump the river. Most people think that is the Great Migration. And it's quite funny. They will call you and say, I need to travel on that day, that week, because that's when they're going to jump on the river. Well, I would like that schedule as well, of course. But if you think about it, come down February, March, they down in the south, they have 500,000 babies. In 2 months, 500,000 babies. So you can hear East Africa is just a different scale of wildlife, but I can also say it's a lot of wildlife. So you're going to go to East Africa, you're going to see animals. That's the goal when you go there. Yes, you can incorporate culture. It's fascinating to visit the Maasai people. They teach you how to make fire with sticks. I mean, just that experience itself is awesome. You can go to Lake Isi, see how they lived there for hundreds of years. They still do live like that. So you can really intertwine culture and wildlife to get that full-on experience. And then people love to end going to Zanzibar. So, It's a quick hop over, 1 hour flight. You're in Zanzibar Island. You're on this beautiful beach resort, 2, 3, 4 nights. Just wind down before you come back home. Some people extend that out to Seychelles even. So that's your Eastern Africa in a nutshell. And now we talk about Southern Africa. That's extremely diverse. You have a desert landscape like Namibia. So very sandy, but beautiful. And then you move across the continent, tip now to the eastern side, and then you get the savannas and you get the broadleaf ecosystems and alike. So the diversity, what makes South Africa really interesting, starting in Cape Town. Most people want to go to Cape Town because it's the mother city. And then when they're there, they get a couple of things, Table Mountain, awesome. Cape Point, where you get the Indian and Atlantic Ocean to meet, fantastic. And then you throw in penguins. Not a lot of people know there are penguins in Africa. There are penguins.
I know that.
They're also known as the jackass penguins, but that's a story for another day. But so you start Cape Town, is about the landscape, the scenery, the food, and then a bit of history as well, modern history with the winelands. So if you're interested in wine, you go to Stellenbosch, Franschhoek. Winelands are just one of those places you need to visit. And those that don't drink wine still go, because you're going to do chocolate tastings, tea tastings, local cuisine. So it doesn't mean you cannot go if you don't drink wine. This can still be done. So now you settle in, you sort of know what's it about, and now you can go on safari. And here's the beauty of Southern Africa. You can go to Kruger, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Namibia on a safari. You've got 5 countries to choose from, and each one is so different. It's not like the one is better than the others. And so I always say, start with Cape Town, settle in, you get a feel of the culture, the country, and the like, and then go on your safari. And now it's a personal choice. What do you want to do? You're going to go to Botswana to see the Okavango Delta. I mean, that's world famous. Chobe National Park. There's 130,000 elephants in Botswana. 130,000. Just imagine, you're not going to see all of them one time. Zimbabwe, Wangi National Park, there are 50,000 elephants in that park. You go to Sabi, highest concentration of leopards on the entire continent. So each one is unique. And I always say, so what's your interest? Do you want to see grand scale animals, or do you want to see something specific? If it's specific, it might be Southern Africa. And then the nice thing is you can add Victoria Falls. Victoria Waterfalls is just one of those natural wonders you have to see. So people will do Cape Town, they go safari, and they do the falls. Boom, 2 weeks, just there. So as you can see, very different between the two. And of course, you can still do the coast. You hop over to Mozambique. You're going to stay at Bazaruto Island. Again, you're on an island. It's private, it's exclusive, or along the coast, or you can even go to Mauritius. So honeymooners love to do that. So we've seen that quite often. But yeah, those are truly the big differences between the two regions.
Well, Gil, I was excited, and now I'm like upset because I don't know which one to choose already to start with. So thank you for the dilemma. No, but I love a lot of things you mentioned. So me first, when I think safari, I think animals. But I love the fact that you mentioned about the culture and the aspect where you can spend a day or night, or I don't know how long, but actually getting to understand how people live in some of those eastern regions that you mentioned. I think that's underestimating like what's possible to do when you go to safaris. It's not only about animals, which is what people probably wants to go first for, but the ability to experience things that you can experience nowhere else. So it's pretty phenomenal. I went last week to watch the new Lion King, at the theater. Yeah, it's for kids, but I love it. Yeah. And I was like mesmerized by it, just with all the animals. And I'm like, I know it's real. I know it's possible to do it. So I will have to consult you more to see east or south. And the same for the audience, you probably have more questions, and we'll have something for you at the end to answer all those questions. But very, very exciting to learn more about each one. As I'm assuming you don't have one specific one that is the bestseller or the place that people wants to go the most, or do you have something like that?
I'm so glad you didn't ask me my favorite because it's like picking your favorite child there.
I know.
So based on statistics, there's definitely currently, as of today, East Africa remains the number one seller, without a doubt. The genius out of the bottle. People wants to go there. And it's always consistent. They want to do Serengeti, Maasai. Those are the two that really comes to mind. So I would say that's a good seller. People go there. They love that. It's a double-edged sword there a little bit because there are certain months that's our peak. So there's a lot of people. You don't want to go necessarily during the peak months. You want to go shoulder. That's usually your spring and your fall, because I would say more animals, less people. That's just me. But hey, if you like people, we can put you in the crowding months as well.
So unless you're counting people as one of the 150,000 animal species.
I guess so. It depends how you look at that. But so you're definitely that one. I would say the other one that's a real good seller, or what people just lean and gravitate to, is Cape Town, and I'm going to use the word safari and Victoria Falls. I don't want to say Kruger, or I don't want to say Botswana, or I don't want to say Zimbabwe, because there's a shift. A few years ago, people were always talking Cape Town, Kruger, Vic Falls. That was sort of the recipe, and then you just design it accordingly because there's a lot of unique elements you can incorporate. We see the shift to Botswana, Cape Town, Botswana, Victoria Falls. The new trend is Zimbabwe and Zambia. I mean, Zambia has is known for the land of the leopards, because it's so different. In Zimbabwe, the diversity is unique. I mean, you can do savanna landscape, you can do mana pools, the huge river, you can do lakes, you can go on a boat on the lake. So immediately you bring the water component in, and while you're at the falls close by, you can go on a 2 or 3 night cruise on the Chobe River. So it's very small river boats, 12 give or take cabins. Beautiful. I mean, swimming pools on the top and, 5-star all the way. And you just open the curtain, you cruise up the river, and you see ellis and buffalo and lion come down to drink water. So you've got your land safari, you got your water safari instantly, just there. So, and again, we can see there's a movement into expanding the safari, pushing that envelope. And a lot of our return clients, they tend to go into Namibia as well, into the Zimbabwe, into the Zambia, because they've done Kruger, they've done Botswana, they want to experience something different. But yeah, I always say Cape Safari, because that's personal safari, and then back to Victoria Falls.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you had me in the south when you said about chocolate and waterfalls. I was in on that, leopards, and then on the east, when you got the all that. So it's fantastic. I guess as somebody like myself who isn't as familiar, like you lived there, so obviously you can see the passion coming through because you lived in that area and you brought it to life to so many thousands of people looking for the experience. But what would you say is maybe a common misnomer or something that people think about safaris or visiting Africa that maybe isn't quite accurate to what it's really like?
Great question. They're gonna rough it, Am I gonna sleep on the ground?
Oh. Yeah.
Do I need to go to the bush to go to the toilet?
Yeah.
It happens. We get those questions.
And yet you do.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it's luxury. I think we always vet our lodges. You never go less than a certain criteria. So on that, I always say star rating is very difficult. It gives you an indication at best, but star ratings are just simply difficult because you can take 2 5-star lodges that goes head and head on so many levels. There's just a $2,000 price difference each night. Why? So star ratings are challenging. But now I would say most people ask the question, am I going to sleep on the ground? Where's the toilet? Is there hot water? Is there power? They still ask those questions. And rest assured, you're going to sleep in what they call a tent. The only reason why they call it a tent by definition, there's a piece of material called canvas that's part of the infrastructure. And the moment that's part of the infrastructure, they call it a tent. Now, in the 60s, 70s, if you would tell somebody, hey, we're going to go sleep in a tent in Africa, they look at you like, are you crazy? What's wrong with you? Shift now to 2025, people want to go sleep in a tent because it's, just to describe that quickly, it's a hard deck floor or cement floor. You've got glass panel windows, glass panel doors. You've got an ensuite bathroom, outside shower. You overlook in the distance sea lilies or wildlife. And you've got power 24/7. You've got a king bed. You've got a mini fridge. I mean, that's not a tent, that's not the one you pitch up in the backyard anymore. So that is something that people don't always understand that clearly. And the second one, I would say people think they must go in a group. It's quite interesting. It's like, the only way I can travel Africa is in a group. Not true. We've got many single people, families, honeymooners, and the like. But even if you do want to go as a group, so a couple of friends or family get together, it's still private. You're not going to join other people because you need to build your memories at your pace, what's good for you. And the nice thing is, being private, you can make changes on site. So let's say in the Cape, that's a good example. So you're going to have on the schedule, visit Table Mountain on day 3, and day 4, you're going to go to the winelands. The guide would say, hey, you know what? The weather tomorrow is terrible. We're not going to do Table Mountain. We're going to flip this thing around. You're going to go to winelands, and then the next day we're going to do Table Mountain. Why? So that the client have a better experience when they're in destination. But that's only possible if you do private. So, but yeah, I would say just remember it's always luxury and private.
Love it. No, I love what you're saying about the group aspect, for sure. And the fact that we can go like a single person or couples and things like that as well. I think it's important. You mentioned briefly earlier about the best timing to go. I know that each region have different preferred timing, assuming with the weather and things like that as well. But coming from the US, since it's majority of people listening are from the US, what would you say it's a great time frame for people to go, and why?
Yeah, I would say each region is a little bit different. So I need to break that out for a moment. So if we talk Southern Africa, so this is now Cape Town, Safari, Big Falls. So that's what we talk about. It's very unique. So Cape Town has what they call a winter rainfall. That means it's June, July, August. If you go inland safari, that's the best time to go. So it's like a conundrum, where do you sit now a little bit? It's not torrentious rain or anything like that, but just be aware you might have that soft drizzle. That's usually what the Cape, and wind. So where does it leave the client? The shoulder seasons, fall and March. It's because you miss the rain, but you still get the best part of the safari. December is fantastic in the Cape. It's not too hot, sunshine, you're going to get a nice tan. But now you're going to go on safari, it's going to be hot. So the moment the client wants to travel over Christmas, New Year, those time, then you want to make sure they get a chalet with an air conditioning in, because it's going to be too hot without that. Now, obviously, they knew that in Southern Africa, and that's why they designed most of the lodges with ACs, so to manage that temperature. So I would say, as you can see, there's not a right or a wrong here. But the nice thing is, for example, Kruger, because that is private game reserves next to Kruger. If people talk about Kruger, they actually are talking about the private game reserves next to Kruger. They don't talk about the main national park that was created 100 years ago. That's open to public. There's millions of people. Your clients and clients are going to go to private game reserves where there are limited vehicles for a better experience. Now, because they allow to drive off-road, it doesn't matter when they're going to go. If you're going to Google will tell you, you must go in August because it's dry and the animal's going to go to the waterhole. That's what Google going to tell you. That is true if you're in a national park where you're not allowed to go off-road. But if you're allowed to go off-road, you can go anytime, because if the light is behind the tree or long grass, well, you maneuver the vehicle, or not you, the guy will, until you have the best view. Eastern Africa is an all-year-round destination, really, because even though it's on the equator, because of the elevation, it's cooler. So you can go anytime. try to avoid the rains. That would be March, April, somewhere there in the Serengeti. But, if you want to go and experience that, do it. But other than that, I wouldn't say there's a wrong or right month.
Wow, that's great. So for winners or listeners, just if you have question, bring them to us. We have the best partner in Gil here with us who will be able to answer any question. I know from a lot of peers who work with Gil and Great Safaris for a while that he's able to customize anything for everybody, and he's the best in answering all the questions the best way possible. So we have a great partner on our side, and we need to take advantage of it. So very, very lucky to have you today, Gil. And I just want to make an announcement for the listeners here today. So Gil will make himself available February 17. More information to come. We will have a safari night, meaning that Gil will come and speak to everybody who wants to understand more and learn more about the safari, maybe more detailed experience about what is possible to do. And you will be invited to speak and to come ask all the questions you want. And Gil will make a specific presentation for all of us. So I'm very, very excited for that. And I want to say thank you in advance for doing that for us and for our listeners as well. Really appreciate it. And second point, in 2026, we're going to organize a group with as many winners of the audience as possible to come safari. We're going to go as well. So it's going to be like a fun time to learn more about what Africa has to offer. So very, very excited about that as well. But yeah, thank you again for your time. I know you're very busy and you took time to come to our podcast. So really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you both. And anytime. Africa's my passion. So there's no time limit on it. So anytime.
We can feel it. We can really feel it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And yeah, so we're gonna hear from you soon, and soon enough we're gonna all be together to celebrate Africa. Thank you, Gil. Appreciate you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So once again, thanks to Gil for joining us today. Hopefully you are excited about the thought of safari. If you haven't considered it before, obviously there's a lot to it, a lot of different things when you're thinking about Africa. And I think Gil just touched the surface of it. And hopefully you can join us on February 17th if you want to learn more about what Great Safaris has to offer. So again, I want to thank Gil for joining. Thank Nick Menard and Associates with Dream Vacations for sponsoring today's episode. Please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow. And we will see you on Friday for Fanatic Friday. Take care, winners.